Hey, welcome to another Friday and another edition of the Urban Law Show. I am with none other than my boy. What's up, Charles?
What's going on, Liz? How's everybody on this Friday?
Man, it's been a heck of a week, bro. Look,
Bro, you say that every week.
yeah, but toothache. Look, let me just. There is nothing like the pain from a toothache. Let me just say
That's right.
that. You know, whew, make a grown man cry. I had to find my way to the dentist on emergency. It was literally like this. And, my dentist probably wish he didn't give me his home phone number, but I was like, either I'm coming to your house or I'm coming to the office. Where you want me to go?
Yeah,
That bad.
toothache would definitely make you move something. You got to get there and get that done. We glad that you made it through and are able to join us today.
Absolutely, my brother. I think the title of the show today is Believe It or Not, because obviously, as we reflect over the past week, it seems like we're just getting plenty of opportunities. As one comedian said it, there's never been a time where we've had this much material before.
Well, it's Friday, so let's have at it.
All right.
Public service announcement though. Do not inject disinfectant into your bloodstream. For all our listeners, I just want to let that be first. Believe it or not, that will kill you. So you may be cured, but you won't be around to talk about it.
Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that might not be the best thing to do or the healthiest thing to do?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say on record, don't do that. Regardless of where you heard it from, I'm telling you, do not inject yourself with disinfectant. Believe it or not, that will kill you.
What? Really?
Well, look here, man. You know, when during the HIV crisis, people would always say that bleach will cure HIV and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
There's some truth to that. It will, but it will kill you. Same thing here. That is not the purpose of bleach, nor is that the purpose of Lysol. Although I did see one of my Facebook compadres who did a little skit when he had an IV with a Lysol can and some wipes attached to it. Only do it in jest. Do not do that for real.
Well, look, it's been a week. It's been a week, and as we look, at the week, I'm going to start it off with this. We'll start off the topic with this because I know for not only ourselves but plenty of business owners, we we kind of started off the week with this information. Let me just kind of share what we started off the week with.
Yeah, they quickly told us that they ran out of money. After all the hype and everybody hurrying up to get their applications in and get all their documentation to back up their applications, boom, all the money is gone. So talk to the people about from the time this came out to today.
Right. $349 billion with a B, billion, gone and how long did it take?
Brother, I would rather not count the number of hours that it took to spend that much money. It really just makes me sick to my stomach because we know that the way that money was allocated, the larger companies inside of the SBA framework, they got the lion's share, whereas the smaller businesses are still scratching their heads saying, but I did everything right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, we are here talking about the size of companies. And you did a great job last Friday breaking it down so everybody would know, 500 or less. And that can mean a lot of range as far as what's available monetarily. But we've already gone through that. Tell us where we are right now, money-wise. What are they doing for the people?
So as you know, we there's a new bill. The Senate has passed it. and unfortunately, I've been without the toothache. I haven't followed it as closely. I know it's going to the House. I don't know if the House has voted yet. I think that vote was supposed to happen. Was it yesterday or is it Tuesday of this week? But that would be the final step. But the real question is, how long is it going to take that to get in the hands of SBA where they're taking applications and funding again? So let's look at the real problem. Let's kind of take the curtain. Let's go behind the curtain for a minute and talk about what happened. How did this happen? And how do we become better informed to look at what's behind the curtain? So it wasn't intended for the big companies, but here's what happens. And I'm gonna give you a scenario. So to make this plain, so Charles, let's say you got a bill in the House, you got that you're about to pass. It's going to provide relief. As an association of small businesses or franchises, I'm gonna lobby my association chair, because remember I paid them a lot of money, right?
That's right.
On top of this, and they're gonna lobby every representative in the House and the Senate to have some kind of special carve out, particularly for my industry, particularly if I'm in the restaurant industry or I'm in education. So they're all doing this. Everybody is fighting to lobby out and carve out what they call a protected amount. So here's what happens. So with this particular legislation, it said 500 or fewer.
That's right.
However, there's a loophole that was in there that didn't get closed, and here's the loophole. What it allowed companies to do, and I talked about this a little bit last week. If I am, let's just a franchise owner. So I own a franchise. I have 150 franchises out across the country. Those franchises are not owned by me. They're not my business. So technically, right, I shouldn't be able to do anything on behalf of those franchisees. But what happened was the parent companies were able to go in, fill out an application, isolate it per location, and that's where the loophole was. A lot of those franchises have more than 500 employees because one franchise owner may own multiple franchises. However, what they did was they said per location. Now we know there's no restaurant that has over 500 employees on the road. So that allowed them to now be eligible. So what they went in and filled out an application for is to be for each location, because they technically have 500 less employees. I'm applying on behalf of all my franchises, and that shouldn't have been allowed to happen. Number one, that's not your company. That's an independent company with a separate EIN that pay you royalties. That is not your company. They are affiliated with you, but that is not your company. And they should have had to file on their own. And if they would have filed on their own as a company, as the franchisees, they wouldn't have been able to do that per location. So that's the loophole that didn't get closed. So now I'm able to go in and I'm able to fill out an application per all of my locations. So if I got 150, I can fill it out for 150 locations. And now and we know how the calculation formula works. I mean, the system works. It automatically calculated, so it's based on your payroll. So then I take the combined payroll of all of those locations, and that's how we get awards of 20 million and 10 million and that type of thing. Now, why? The bigger question now goes even deeper. Why did some banks, right, have people fill it out on day one and they didn't get funded? And I just have my own theory on that. This is Leslie's theory. This is not approved science, but I'm going to give you my theory. Here's the reality. When you look at the program, and until somebody show me otherwise, I'm going to hold on to my theory. Banks are funded on the amount of loans. They're not just doing this out of common courtesy. There has to be something in it for them because it's a lot of man hours and a lot of labor.
So you mean this is not pro bono?
No, it's not pro bono. Come on now. Listen. Because the amount of labor that you have to put in the underwriting to get that many loans through underwriting, there has to be an ROI in it for you. So if I'm a bank and I'm getting funded on a percentage of the loan value, if I got 200 loans that's applied, and a lot of them are small, maybe 20,000 or less, because again, it's based on payroll. So you couldn't just say, I need this amount of money. It's based on your actual payroll spent. And I got 10 loans that are multi-million-dollar loans. Which one you think I'm sending in, or which one you think I'm attacking first?
So you mean to tell me you wouldn't take the volume over the size?
I would. I would, but that's just me. I'm just saying there's a possible theory out there that somebody might have taken a different approach.
So in other words, you're saying that $1 million loan had a better return on investment than the $20,000 loan.
That's the way my math calculates.
Well, simple math. All right, that's less.
And so here's the thing, right? So the deeper question, and I asked this question to my bank. I ain't got an answer yet, but here's my thing. I would love to know the percentage. All right, and here's my question. I suggest you guys ask your banks if you didn't get the funding in the first round. I want to know the percentage of the loan value by loan value amount that got funded in the first round from your bank.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And I think that's why we do this type of show every week, is so that we can give our viewers and our clients a different perspective. When you engage in that type of conversation, it makes it hard for your banker, who is your representative, to ignore you, because now you've asked a substantive question about how he's making money for the bank.
Yeah. And you have a right to ask that question. And look, most of them are not going to have an answer because their high-ups are not really technically giving them an answer because nobody wants to disclose that. But that's really the question. The question is, I want to see, look, this is public funds. You say you for me as a small business, of the amount of loan applications that actually got funded in the first round by your bank from the SBA. I would like to see a breakdown by the numbers by loan value. How many that were over $1 million got funded? How many that were between $500,000 and $999,000 got funded, and so on. I would love to see that step down, because I think what we're going to find, and when we look at the percentages, we're going to find that the percentages that got funded are much higher at the top end of that scale.
Smaller amount of loans, bigger value, better return for the bank.
Look, I'm not mad at the banks. I understand it's an ROI business, but I think people need to be transparent. And so the reality is, every day, it's the small businesses you make the bulk of your money off of.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, they're coming in your neighborhood branches. Without the small business, a lot of your neighborhood branches wouldn't exist, because let's be honest, the big businesses are not going to the neighborhood branches. Y'all got a personal banker. Y'all go to them. So so my question is, if that's the case, I would love to see that percentage. So my thing is all about informing the people and making sure they understand kind of what's going on and what all the things that are in play. But this is not pro bono work from the banks. And if you have noticed, if you go back to any press conference you've heard, any statement that's released from the banks, you've never seen anything in writing that says it was a pro bono effort from the banks.
Well, now, about those press conferences. Are we in infomercial territory?
Yeah, I think so. And look, we got family joining us in, guys. This is going to be a good one today. Now, this is not political, but we're going to dig into the facts. We're going to dig into some of the questions that are not being asked. So chime in with your questions. Man, your mom is in the house. Ebony is in the house. We got Javon, Micah in the house. So Andrea is in the house. What's up? So the reality is, that's the questions most people don't think to ask, because I've been getting hit a lot. How did this happen?
Yeah.
And the bottom line, there was a loophole that didn't get closed that nobody thought about, and they were probably trying to rush to get it passed. And you would think common decency would have stopped it. Now, here's the bigger question. Here was the process that a lot of people don't know. And Ebony, you're right. Ebony says I sound highly perturbed. You're probably about right, because I'm passionate about this, because I think the marketing perception of how this has gone out did not meet reality. So when you look at the process for these loans to get dispersed, it went through underwriting at the local banks. You notice they've kept saying it's the local banks, it's the local banks. But then the local banks had to send, once they packaged it up, they had to send it back to the SBA for approval. So
Hmm.
here's my second question that I sent into the SBA, and I'm still waiting on the answer. Here's my second question. First of all, why would you bottleneck the process and have every loan come back to the SBA when you as the SBA yourself couldn't handle the volume initially that was coming to you? So that's
add one more question to that. The SBA is a governmental agency. Do they lend money?
They don't.
So why send it back?
That's my point.
You know.
So now, but wait a minute. Now here's what you're going to hear. They're going to say we send it back to have oversight. So if that's the question, and you send it back to have oversight to make sure the funds were dispersed properly, then how in the world did this happen if you're responsible for oversight?
Ooh, Leslie. That's scandalous. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, you boy.
I'm just saying. Look. I think the people need that you hearing me perturbed. You hearing realness.
Well, we always keep it real now.
Owner, and you guys know what I mean. You put your life, you put all your savings, you put everything into what you do.
Yeah.
So that same passion. So here's the thing: don't sell me a facade if it's not really what you want to give me. Just be transparent with
it. So what I hear you saying is, not only would disinfectant not work and it might kill you, ultraviolet lights don't work either. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing, brother. That's what you're hearing. Look, we man, we have some questions. So
well, let's jump into the questions.
Pop into it. So this is from Andrea. Let me just
before you do the questions, I always wanted to say this on TV.
Okay,
hey, Mama.
Oh man, so here we go. First question. And he said, I applied on April 2nd and heard nothing. I didn't, however, expect to get the funding for my business. All right.
Well, April 2nd would imply that you were in the first wave. The problem became, as Leslie laid out, you went to your bank, you did everything that was required, and depending on how fast your bank moved, they had to send it back to the SBA. And by the time they did all of that, it's a lot of people who have still not heard what's going on. So that was a matter of speed with your local branch and getting it to whoever they needed to get it to, and underwriting and what have you, and then get it back to the SBA. So there are, unfortunately, we have learned before the pandemic that not all administrations are created equal in how they do day-to-day operations. And so, you know, there are some chinks in the armor, so to speak, in how they process things. So as long as you keep a tab, I would check in with my bank and let them try to give you some guidance on what they're seeing, because they have the system that's linked to the SBA.
Yeah, and look, I'm starting some stuff today, so we got some questions coming in. Neely's in the house? What's up, Neely? And let me pop this one up, Charles. I'm gonna let you dive into this one. This is a two-part question from Iris. It says, but if the purpose of these loans wasn't fit for large businesses, why were they approved by the SBA in the first place? And then she follows that up and says, and then why would the same government dial it back?
Well, Leslie gave you his theory. I'm just going to give you mine. You have, and Neely will know this because Neely is an old political operator. You have benefactors, you have kingmakers, and then you got people you have to settle up with. So you have to watch the flow of money in government. A lot of times when you hear the larger general press statement, that is the ideal environment of what should happen if everything is done properly. Unfortunately, everything was not done properly. In fact, when you have, turf wars between intergovernmental agencies, and that slows down the process as to who's actually going to take care of what. And then you have issues with proper oversight from the congressional body. That is a huge problem. Now, I'm not going to say on a live that certain benefactors got taken care of because they were given the playbook. But what I will say is, if you look at the sums of money and what the program was intended for, you get right back to what Leslie is talking about. Loopholes, carve-outs, special interest. And that means somebody had a lobbyist on payroll, somebody made good decisions in who they donated to and who they backed, and they got a little bit more favorable outcomes. I'm not going to say that's what happened. That's just my theory. So happy Friday on theories, Leslie. I have one too.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this on the board, and then we're gonna come to Neely's coming in here to back that up. So I got the question also from IRS. Then why would Harvard say they will not return their loan? Because it's not for them, it's for the students. So let me just kind of put this up. This is the article that was in the Daily. It actually hit this is in the UK's paper, but it was in some of the US outlets as well. Let me just put this up real quick. So when you look at this, a couple of things. It says Donald Trump obviously late on Tuesday demanded that Harvard give back the $8.6 million grant they received as part of the $2.3 stimulus package. The president of Harvard tweeted that the Ivy League school defied his earlier order, saying it plans to keep an $8.6 million grant it received as part of an educational relief program, despite having an eye-watering $40.9 billion endowment. So that is what she is referring to. Thoughts on that? Sure.
You don't get to a $40.9 billion endowment by sending back $8 million. It's simple. That's addition and subtraction. I mean, it's shrewd, but I don't know that they broke the rules.
Well, and I think that's what they're saying. And they're saying that essentially that it wasn't for the school itself, that it was for the students. Now, I mean, I think they're going to have to do a great marketing job to sell that one in terms of goodwill. But that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, when you start looking at someone's endowment versus what they were provided in a relief formula, that falls back on the people who actually wrote the language. That doesn't fall on the university. I mean, the university is going to follow the rules and apply based off of what's in the application packet. It's too late. It's too late to cry about it once you cut them a check.
That's true. Well, this goes to some, and Neely's coming I'm about to put up is something we talked about earlier in the week, and I think it's spot on. So why don't you take this one, Charles?
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I see it. I serve as a board chair of a local nonprofit. We got ours. I own a small business. We missed out in the first wave. The key difference, one bank was a go-getter, the other bank was too slow. Your bank and your bank relationship matters. Okay. Very good point, Neely. Leslie and I had a conversation on Monday because some of the information I relayed to him is centered directly on that point, and thank you for that. A lot of times, you've heard the saying, the early bird gets the worm. That applies in not only you getting your paperwork, your background information together, and filing your application in a timely fashion. Your banker, your community branch, and then ultimately their management have to be proactive and aggressive in getting the stuff to the SBA so that they're in the queue in a timely fashion. So unfortunately, depending on who you bank with, part of Leslie's theory falls on the banks themselves in not being negligent, but being slowful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to add another wrinkle to that. And that the information provided to the banks was hazy to begin with. Because believe it or not, we got some questions from the bank about how they were to administer the applications themselves, and we were in the application pool. That's, when you start seeing that, that means that there is not necessarily a good understanding, which leads to slow feet. And if you have slow feet, when you're getting ready to go up for a jumper, if you pump fake once, you may be good, but if you start pumping twice, they're gonna get you from behind. So,
No doubt. I think we got a question here, a couple. I told you guys before I started that I was going to start some stuff, but this stuff we need to talk about. So here we go. I have many industry friends who bank small. They received theirs. Wells Fargo was mostly a no. Chase Bank was mostly approved. Okay. Wells Fargo was mostly a no, and Chase Bank was mostly approved.
Well, I mean, I would say I think there are deeper implications with who you bank with and what their mission statement is and how they apply that mission statement. Some banks are wired in a little bit stronger than others. And then some banks have some issues that are long-standing. And, that's something that you need to educate yourself on, because when it comes to who you bank with and who you trust to handle your money and your affairs, that statement speaks to what is their intentionality in getting certain groups funded. So that's a larger issue. And all of that stuff, believe it or not, is in play right now because the whole world, the whole United States is going after the same pot of money for small businesses. And so who you bank with, who you communicate with, and how they operate on a day-to-day basis is now exposed.
All right, Charles, it doesn't get any easier. So here's this question. Take this one.
Well, I mean, we know we're not a flat earth society. We also know there are meat eaters and grass eaters. And right now, based off of the current administration's posture, you've got to be uber aggressive because they run the whole country as a business. So you have to know that is the ethos in play. They're not playing by, everybody row in the same direction in order to raise everyone else. It's who wants it bad enough, who has the connections, and who's able to achieve their goals, sometimes in a negative fashion. But I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole with you. I will say, though, do what you're supposed to do, and hopefully it works out.
Well, you brought up a good point there. Do what you're supposed to do. Then let me speak to the people that perhaps don't understand what I'm saying. Because here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying if you were a small business owner and you didn't apply, or you applied 3 days after it came out, that you should be feeling the same way. No, I'm not, because you gotta own that responsibility too, and you do have to be aggressive about going after it. I'm talking to people that were in that day one pool soon as it was released, and let's be honest, the smaller banks as a whole did just outperform the big banks in this one on the first round. They just did, and the reality was they had the systems in place. The systems didn't crash. You were able to get the loan. They were able to get it over to the SBA faster, and as a result, they were able to get people funded earlier in the process, which is to this point. Look, and I'm just saying that if you didn't do your part though, and even apply, I mean, I talked to somebody today, they still haven't applied yet. They're like, well, I'm gonna wait for the second round. I said, wait. You gotta wait.
The problem with waiting though is there are people who applied in the first round that didn't get funded, and they are in the queue waiting. Right. So you don't just jump to the front of the line because you decide to put in on the second wave.
Right. So those are good questions. Switching gears a little bit, we it is Friday, and we always like to talk about relevant topics. Here's the thing. I think the thing that I've been kind of watching, and I really got a heart for all the small business owners out there, because here's the other thing I've seen, right? So we got big businesses, billion-dollar businesses, laying off people left and right, furloughing people left and right. However, it's the smaller businesses that's doing more for their employees and staff at a time and being more giving of themselves as a whole than what I've seen in the big business industry, just from what I've seen. I'd love to see what you guys' perception of that from what you've seen and what you've observed. Do you see it that way? So I always tell people, everybody always knock on the small business, but sometimes big is not always better. Just a thought.
Bigger is not always better, and I would take it one step further. What is the why for why you're in business in the first place? Because, nobody was prepared for a slow response to a worldwide pandemic. Right. But when your why is strong, you don't question whether or not your employees bring value. When your why is right, you do what's necessary to serve your needs of a bottom line economically with the larger, greater good of knowing that if you take care of those families that have provided you that economic windfall, if you take care of them in times of hardship, they'll take care of you when the harvest is plentiful. And so that goes to a larger point of small businesses by and large are family. Your employees, you're connected to the community. And that's not a knock on big business, because you have big businesses that are doing good within their communities, and they do it at scale. But what it does indicate is if you are a new business owner or an experienced business owner, this is a great time for you to examine your why.
I think it's important because we will come out of this and come through this. And what I tell everybody, there's two types of leadership. There's transactional and there's transformational. What you want to be in these times is transformational. Because if you're transactional, coming out of this, all the people you've counted on, their perception of you is going to be totally different. And the impact of that on productivity and commitment is going to change. It's going to change your outcome. It's going to eventually hit your bottom line. And so I always tell people, you can't lead by a title. You gotta lead by inspiring people and motivate. So I mean, what is the end result? Can they see? Have you thought about what they want to do? Do you ask a question? When's the last time you asked your staff, hey, literally, where do you want to be? What is it you want to do? Is it, if it's outside of this interest, what is it? What is it that, what do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want to be in a year? What do you want to be in 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, that's a larger question. But what about the basic question of decency? I mean, if you're a servant leader, you're gonna roll your sleeves up and solve the problem, even if it costs you.
Yeah. So got a couple other questions. Let me pop in. So here's Neely. I'll let you take that one. I think he was responding to you, Charles.
Oh yeah, Neely, I 100% agree with you. I think one of the things that we need to make clear, even though we're doing a little bit of a soapbox segment, is that end of the day, the banks are in business to make money. Yep. Some of them were not all the way up on the game, and they slipped, whereas other people were reading by candlelight and making the calls they needed to make to understand how they needed to position their people. They were the beneficiaries. I mean, it's simple. You need to know the rules and apply the rules in order to win the game.
No doubt. And then on this question, I'll take this one. So for the second round, how can smaller businesses better position themselves to receive the funding? Simple. Number one, if you have applied already, make sure that if they've requested any additional documentation, make sure you've already responded to that. Make sure they have everything they need and that you're at the point where your package is ready to go to SBA. That's where you should be. or shall be already transmitted to the SBA. That's where you should be. If they've asked you for something you haven't responded, respond now. I mean, as soon as they ask you for it, get you to the point where you can be in line for your loan to get approved. That's the best thing you can do to put yourself in position.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask your bank questions. See, this is the time when all those previous segments we did about having a relationship with your bank and going in and talking to them when you don't need them, so that you establish a rapport. This is when this stuff comes in handy, because you can pick up the phone and call and get answers and apply pressure and ask those tough questions, you know.
Yeah, Andy says she just, and you might be familiar with this. I wonder if it's that the program that Goldman Sachs is partnered with, but it says, I've just received notification that Goldman Sachs is offering $50 million towards the PPP in NOLA and the South. I haven't seen a notification, particularly, Andy, but I do know there was a press conference in Texas last week where the governor announced a fund that Goldman Sachs was behind. That was a $50 million overall fund, but it's a little more to it. It was in conjunctions with another partner that was going to be facilitating that. But I don't remember all the details specifically, so I don't want to start quoting. So definitely, yeah, read that notification. If you qualify for any of that, I mean, apply for it. Absolutely. So I did. I mean, I know it's real. I know it's a real thing, and I know.
Yeah, I mean, check with your Chamber of Commerce. Check with your cities. There are other entities. Some of the energy companies are doing specific things that you may apply for. So now is the time to do that research and go ahead and get in the queue for those as well.
Yeah. And and before we end the day, we're going to raffle off. Of course, we were giving away a free business formation, and we forgot to raffle that off last week. So we'll do that the last part of the show here today. So who knows? Somebody get lucky today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talk business. What about the Bayou Tigers, man? We won the national championship. Shout out to Neely again. I see Patrick Queen is going to be a Raven. Congratulations, Neely. I know y'all put a lot of hard work into helping him make the next step. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joey Burrow, Jefferson, Chason. Come on, Leslie. It was a good night.
Well, I mean, hey.
And then personal privilege, CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys while Jerry is calling in from a spaceship.
Well, first of all, let's talk about that for a second. Was he on a yacht? It looked like he was
on another yacht, but it looked like he was calling in from the USS Enterprise,
Oh man, that's what I thought. I thought he was on a yacht. But man, listen, and I'm not a Cowboys fan, even though I'm here in Dallas. But I will say this: that was a good draft pick.
CeeDee Lamb.
You got Amari Cooper on one side and CeeDee Lamb on the other.
Yeah.
And then you still got Michael Gallup.
Yeah.
It's going to get interesting.
You got to have some firepower. Kansas City set the standard. You need speed, and you need a little bit more speed.
True. I mean, no doubt about it. So, let me see. We got another question here from Cherie Jordan. Take this one, Charles.
Having a relationship makes a big difference. My loan officer reached out to me to see if I was interested in the PPP and sent the application. I had already applied, but I appreciated the gesture. Miss Jordan, that is very good. That lines up very good with the point that I was making. When you establish those relationships on good days, when you don't need anything, and you make that avenue open for communication, you get more dialogue. You want to build your network, and part of your network, if you're in business, needs to be a solid relationship with your banking enterprise. and not just making deposits, but as Leslie would tell you, I know everybody in the bank by name. I know what they got going on in their life. That's because I take the time to talk to them. And not that you have to do it that exact way, but make sure you at least have your loan officer on your team.
Great. That's a good point. Let me see. Here we go. All right.
I can't really comment on that. You know, I love Mike. I love the Bulls. You know, that was my team growing up.
I forgot to show you the first part of that question. My bad. I just showed you the last part, but that's the first part.
Yeah, that was my team. But I will be honest with you. Losing Kobe, I've been kind of taking a break from basketball. So I'll just keep it real with you. I'll go back and watch it at some point, but I've been focusing on other stuff because that's still fresh on me. And you know how I felt. Everybody know how I felt about Kobe being Bryant. He was part of my family, So no slight to Scotty and Mike, but the Bean is where I'm at right now. Until I put that to rest finally, I'm kind of taking a break.
Well, look, that's saying a lot for you. I mean, basketball was kind of your thing. So that's saying a lot for you.
Oh, it's still my thing, but I mean, sometimes, you may not even know a person, but they may have a profound effect on you. And his approach to life and basketball is very, very instrumental into how I taught the game of basketball. And so, just working within that construct.
Well, look, I gotta say, the possibility of not having or having a shortened football season is a little bit depressing for me because that's my game. And so, but at the same time, I'm all about being safe. So they're gonna have to flashback. I'm just gonna have to watch old replays of the Steelers and all our rings and
well, I always go back and watch the Super Bowl where the Cowboys put a tire on you.
That was in '95. Yeah, I remember that was in '95, and that was in Phoenix.
That's okay. I mean,
I remember that one.
Yeah, it's still good to watch. I remember how upset you were when the Cowboys beat you.
Yeah, but I do remember we still have more rings than you do. So we're doing all right. And we're going to get another one this year. So we'll be all right. Yeah.
Oh, every year is Super Bowl or bust for us,
Well, y'all been doing a lot of busting then, y'all.
That's all right. We still are a proud organization with a lot of young talent. So we will be in the mix. Whenever they kick it off, we'll be right there.
All right. Well, that's our time. And I do want to announce the winner. I'm putting it in the chat of the free business formation. That was Miss Taylor. The Meso Taylor is the winner. So I will be reaching out to them to do their free business formation where we set up their company and all necessary paperwork for them. So, guys, we'll be having other sweepstakes coming. So stay tuned on our website. If you haven't liked our Facebook page, make sure you do that at Urban Law PLLC so that you'll get notified of all the freebies and the contests that are going on.
Yeah.
So, Charles, you got anything else before we go?
Yeah. I mean, just reminding people, even though we're in the pandemic, our phones have still been ringing. We're still working. We're still available for video chats. We're still available to do whatever you need done. Give us a call, 601-340-6800. Be safe. Enjoy your family. If I'm not mistaken, we're going to a virtual birthday party with a happy hour included sometime tonight. So happy birthday to Marsha Kelly Peters.
Absolutely. And that's why I just got the wrap it up, bro, because you got to get ready for the party. So I got to do my thing on that.
Is there a dress code? I mean, or can I just come as I am?
Come as you are, man. Come as you are.
All right, because I haven't. For those of you who know me, my hair grows really fast, so I got that Douglas look going. I'm working on that.
Looks good on you, brother.
All right. Well, everybody be safe. Enjoy your families. and let's have a productive week.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.